Hello again, everybody, and thank you for watching Clark Family Outdoors. My name's John, and walking you through my process of becoming a bee haver to a beekeeper. For years, I had bees, didn't do a whole lot with them, wasn't taking a whole lot of care of them, but I realized it's time for me to get serious. I really wanted to learn more about bees, and I'm going to walk you through the process of what I've learned and things that I'm doing differently now that I'm a beekeeper instead of a bee haver. And hopefully we'll give you some tips and tricks that you can also utilize along the way. This video I know is going to probably cost me some man points, if you will, but I want to talk about beekeeping over the age of 50. I just turned 50 very recently, and things that I do today are slightly different than what I did 20 years ago, and for good reasons. Number one, let's talk about some health issues, overall health issues. You know, as the old saying goes, as Toby Keith would tell you, I ain't as good as I once was. A deep super full of honey is a pretty heavy box, right? It's a pretty heavy super. It's a lot of poundage, and I'm just not up to it anymore. I can do it, yes, but I'm also looking for the future. You know, what happens in 20 years? I still want to beekeep when I'm 20 years old, or 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, maybe. We'll see. But I know I'm not going to be able to lift a super of this size at that point in time. Now, maybe you are a commercial beekeeper, or you have the resources at home. You've got farm hands, you've got tractors that can lift with forklifts or whatever to lift up the whole skid. I don't have that luxury. So right now I'm doing everything by hand. And honestly, the weight of a deep super, when I do 5, 10 of those, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm to that point in my life where I just really don't want to do that anymore. So I'm looking for ways to adapt. If you are new to beekeeping and are starting to make a decision based on what type of equipment you want to have, there are tons of YouTube videos out there that tell you how to manage with a single deep or even 2 deep supers. Lots of people swear by the deeps, that's fine. Lots of people swear by the mediums, that's fine. You do what fits your needs the best. You know, this is your project, this is your hobby. Everybody has their own opinion and everybody has their own advice, but you do what you think works best for you. I will tell you what I think works best for me at this point in my life, and that is to gradually go to all mediums. Mediums are the way that first of all, they're lighter and they're consistent, and this may be a reverse process here. But one of the reasons why I decided to go with the mediums, all mediums, when I can, is my extractor that I have for honey only fits mediums. I can't put a deep in my personal extractor. Now, your extractor may allow deeps, may allow mediums, may allow whatever. Mine really only takes mediums. And since my extractor takes mediums, since extractors are very expensive equipment, I'm going to gradually go to all mediums. That's where I want to go. Here's the problem. The problem is that typically when you buy a nuke or you buy even an existing hive from somebody, they're going to sell you a nuke that's full of 5-frame deeps, and that's an issue. Here's a nuke box, typical nuke box, and you can see the deep. This is a deep frame, right? So the deep frame goes into the nuke box, sits down at the bottom. This is a medium. Well, if I'm going to all mediums from deeps, I have an issue because my deep frames that the bees are already established on and settled on won't fit into a medium super. So one of the things I'm going to do today and show you how to do this, I'm going to make what I'm going to call a converter. I don't know if it's been done before. I don't know if it's out on YouTube. I've not even searched. So this is something I was driving around the other day thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a deep box, okay, a standard deep, and I'm going to allow, when I get my nuke packages, I'm going to pull the nukes over to the side, set them in, and I'm going to build a converter, just a small box on the far side, that will lift up the frames, the far frames on one side to it, will lift up to the proper depth that I can put medium frames in, and gradually have those bees in that nuke package as they expand and grow. They'll fill out the coma on those frames. They'll start laying on those frames, and then I can pull those frames off, put them in a medium box, and put more in here. And eventually I'll be able to convert most of my stuff over to mediums. Gradually I could actually end the entire deep process and sell off all my existing deep equipment. Probably won't do that simply because if I ever have to buy any more bees and they come to me in a nuke box, I'm going to want to be able to have some way of putting them in a super and convert them over to mediums gradually. I realize I can shake them off. I realize there's all kinds of things I could do, but I don't want to necessarily destroy the comb, destroy the frames, and certainly don't want to mess with the nuke that's already built in that package until they're ready to move out. So I'm just going to build a converter box that will have both deeps and mediums, so I can gradually go to mediums. When I talk about going to mediums, a lot of it's just because of the weight. It's nice to have standardized equipment so you're not shuffling around. You go out to your out apiary and you're looking for something and you don't have it, and you're like, oh man, I should have brought more deeps, or I should have brought more mediums. All my out apiaries, the only place that I have deeps at all are on my home premises. Everywhere else I go, and I've got 2 different locations right now where I'll house bees and have out apiaries, if you will. Those are all entirely medium. I never have to worry about taking a deep out there. No way, no how. I want one standard equipment when I go to the field. For you, your standard equipment may be deeps. I don't know, but getting back to the age thing. If you are a younger beekeeper or a new beekeeper, I'll just tell you this. The difference between the age of 30 and 40 is not near the difference in health-wise between the ages of 40 and 50. I never had a pair of glasses on my face until after the age of 40. I can still shoot a buck at 200, 300 yards, not a problem, but I can't see and focus 3 inches in front of my face. So I'm losing that. I have to wear reading glasses, have to wear cheaters. When I go out into the bee yard and I'm looking for eggs, I'm looking for larvae, it is a pain. It's a horrible pain. If the bees are flying around, messing around, you got to raise up your veil, you got to slide on your reading glasses, then you got to slide the reading glasses off, or if I got reading glasses on, I got to look everywhere. So one of the tips I have for over the age of 40, maybe 50 years in beekeeping, recently bought a couple sets of true bifocals. So when I have these on, as I'm looking at the camera right now, I can see you clear as day. I don't have to remove my reading glasses. When I'm looking at the frames, oh, look at that, I got fingerprints. I can now look and focus in on my hand, the eggs, whatever the case may be. And I don't have to remove the glasses. So the whole time that I'm out in the bee yard, I'll have on my bifocals. Yes, I will. That's how, I'm getting older, getting to that age, but it happens to everybody. The next thing, when you're going to your out apiaries, how do you carry your equipment in, or what do you have? What do you carry a bag? Do you just slap everything in the bed of your truck and go out there? Well, sometimes it's too wet where I go and I can't drive my truck, so I've got to carry my bee bag with me. And for years, I've been doing this one. This is just an old 5-gallon bucket. It's got like a Craftsman, Sears, whatever it is, antique. You slide your tools in here, hive tools, whatever equipment you want. Other stuff can go inside the bucket. That's what I used to carry out in the field. Well, I've upgraded. Again, I'm not as good as I once was. I'm getting older. Sometimes I just want to sit down and be comfortable when I sit down, and this open bucket would not do it. So another tip for everybody ages 40 and up, this is an old hunting bucket we've got. It has a seat on top of it. This seat actually spins around. So if I just want to take 5, I'm out, gathering honey, whatever, I'm just tired, want to sit down, I can sit down on something comfortable. I can spin around. I can actually sit on this bucket and work the bees, as I'm working there in the out apiary by sitting down. All my tools go inside the bucket. So when I walk out, I'll just carry this bucket. And smoker in one hand if I need it, bucket in the other. All the tools that I should have in order to do inspections, do things like that, are there. Out in the out apiary, I do have a setup where I store additional frames, additional supers, so I don't have to keep going back and forth to the boxes and to the truck all the time and haul stuff from my home base to the out apiaries. I can just store stuff there on site and pull off as necessary. So a couple tips. Bifocals are great. I don't know what I could have ever done without them, especially if you're grafting queens. There's no way I could graft queens without having my bifocals on. Having the seat is nice, and going to supers, going to mediums from deeps. Another way of benefiting your long-term longevity in beekeeping. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to design, like I said, the converter box. All it's going to be is about a 3, I think maybe 2 7/8. I'll have to do the exact measurements and I'll get back with you. Just a little lift kit for the deep. I'm going to build this thing separate so that I can pull it out of this one and put it into another deep. It'll be interchangeable. I don't have to screw it in solid and permanent. It's not going to be a permanent structure in any deep frame. Like I said, eventually I want to get down to like 1 or 2 deeps and probably sell the rest of my deep equipment because I'm not going to use it anymore. But in the meantime, I'm going to build a converter for, I've got 4 nukes out in the apiary right now, out in the bee yard, and I'm going to put these in these converter boxes to expand them, to let them grow. They're to the point where they need some more room. The room I'm going to give them are going to be on medium frames because that's what I'm going to. Just to me, it makes perfect sense. Some of the others may have some other advice what I should do and what I should do differently. And I'll gladly accept that. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you would prefer to do. If you're a beekeeper that's trying to transition from deeps to mediums, this is what I thought of. So this is what I'm going to do. And I'll keep you posted and give you the video in the process. Okay? So once again, thanks for watching Clark Family Outdoors, and we will keep you updated. So for this converter box, what I've done is I just use scrap lumber that I have in the shop, especially with the lumber prices today, right? I don't want to go out and buy anything new if I don't have to. So I trimmed them down to 7 3/8, I believe. Yep, 7 3/8. So they're 7 3/8 inch wide. I've got 2 of them, one for the top and one for the bottom. I'm going to place the bottom one there and the next one on top. Additionally, I have same length, which would be 18 1/4, I believe. So everything's 18 1/4 in length. These are 2 inch deep, so I'll set a 2 incher here, a 2 incher here. This box, this lid goes on top. I'll glue it, I'll staple it down, and that is basically my converter box. My medium frames fit nicely, nice and snug up against that box. I can pull the 5 frames out of the nuke box, put them in here. As they need distance to grow, they can grow into these medium frames off to the left, and boom, we're done. Now, I can keep this as a 5 framer if I want to for all my future nukes, or I can, eventually graduate, move them over entirely. I will probably only keep deeps at my house going forward, just in case we have nuke boxes, things like that. But I do want to be able to convert them to mediums. So my goal is that as that nuke colony expands, that nucleus expands, they will expand into mediums. I can then pull the mediums out, put them in another box, put new medium frames in. And that's my experience. What I'm going to try to do to convert what few deeps I have over into my mediums. Eventually, obviously, I'll either have honey, pull it off, or whatever else, but certainly the brood, I eventually want to migrate into the mediums. I don't know how well it's going to work. I think it should work. I don't know why it wouldn't, but you never know. There are beekeepers out there that may have a better idea. I have never seen a converter box like this before, but in full disclosure, I've never Googled it before. It's just an idea I had while I was driving down the road one day of how to convert 5-frame deep nucleus colonies into mediums. And I think this is what the process that I'm going to try to use. I can always expedite the process by shaking out the bees, things like that, but let's just see. They need room anyway. Those nukes need room anyway to move and grow. So we're going to put them in here. I'm going to use, as I assemble this box, the converter box, I'm going to go ahead and use this super, the existing super, as my frame to try to square things up as best as I possibly can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be pretty close. So basically you're looking at overall, you want something that's 3 inches in total thickness. 3 inches to go with the mediums. 3 inches, 18 1/4 long, 7 3/8 wide, I believe is what I said, correct? And that should cover it. That's essentially the box. I'll show you the completed product here in a minute. No, I will tell you this. I'll be using Type Bond 2. I know people swear by Type Bond 3. I've always just used 2 and had great success with it. So on the uprights, I'll put a bead of glue on each one, and then I will use an air nailer. I mentioned before that 5-gallon buckets are a beekeeper's best friend. This is number 2, especially if you have to build woodenware. Get a small compressor, go to Harbor Freight, go to a garage sale, whatever you want to. Get a cheap old nail gun and air nailer and put it in there. You can get cordless if you want to, something nice. But this comes in incredibly handy if you're building woodenware, if you're putting frames together, things like that. And then Type Bond 2 is what I use on all my equipment when I'm building wooden frames and things of that nature. I'll use Type Bond 2 and a couple air nails, and we're good to go. So stay tuned, I'll show you the box. deep frames, as I pull them out of the nucleus colony, will go on the right, and as they expand, because they need additional room, they'll move into the medium side. I'm not going to nail this into this box, so I could use it in different boxes if I need to. I may end up building a few more just because. Quick and easy, doesn't take much effort at all, but I think it will work out well if, you know, have a towel handy, wipe off any glue that you have in the super, any glue that you have in the box. But this thing's probably ready to go, and I'll show you how I'm going to use it here in a few minutes, or later on this afternoon, probably early this evening. And as I convert them over from the deeps into the medium side. But I think it's going to work out well. Again, use scrap. I did have one nail go outside the board, so I'm going to cut it out with some wire clippers. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to be able to sit the frames down so they rest nicely. You still have bee space on either end. You'll have bee space up top, so the bees can still move around. Should not be an issue. If you felt concerned, you could always drill a hole out in one of these wax foundations if you want to, and put them in here so the bees can move this way. But I think it'll work. I don't know why it wouldn't. I could, as long as I don't permanently mount it. You know, theoretically, I could slide this anywhere I wanted to in the box. So if I wanted the medium frames to be in the middle and have two deeps on either end to help force the migration, I could probably do that as well. We'll give it a shot and see where it works. Again, it's an experiment. It's a beekeeping, and what works for me may not work for you. You ask two different beekeepers 2 different questions, and you'll get 4 different answers because, you know, they'll always hedge their bets. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, right? And there's certainly more than one way to do beekeeping. But for me, I want to move from deeps to mediums when I can, and I'm going to do this method for my nuke boxes that I have out there right now and see what happens. So we'll keep you updated. Thanks again for watching Clark Family Outdoors. Please like and subscribe and watch our newest videos that we release. Okay, here are 4 nukes that I purchased last week. I have not yet done an inspection on them. They still have duct tape on them. So you'll see that process. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the nuke, the deep to medium converter box that I just built on the package on this far right. And we'll see how it will go. The other 3 I'll probably put in deeps, but I'll keep them here at this apiary here at my house. That way I don't have to worry about intertwining mediums and deeps in the apiaries, because that becomes just an issue. But the one on the far right here on the bottom, I'm going to put that into the converter. We'll give it a shot and see if this works. Now, one thing I neglected to mention in the video with the box that we created here for the converter, you also have to make sure that we offset the distance between on your hive stand. So everybody's bottom boards may be a little different. The measurements may be slightly off. This is not quite going to fit perfect. As you can see, I'm going to have a little space here, a little gap, maybe 1/8 of an inch. I think that'll be fine. But what we don't want is we don't want the bees to actually be able to come underneath the box and to build anything underneath. So I think just having this board here will suffice. We'll take the deep, doing this one-handed here. We'll take the deep, we will set it on top of the stand, there we go, of the box. So I believe that what I have down here should be sufficient to prevent any, you know, unwanted bee space, bee building activities, things of that nature. Let me just drag this back to the back here. Okay, so we should be good right there, I think, as it fits. Again, as mentioned previously, it is 18¼ inches in length. And sorry, again, doing this one-handed, sometimes difficult. So it's 18¼ in length, 7 3/8 inches wide, and it's a total of 3 inches deep, plus the distance between the bottom of the super and your bottom board. So that's why I added that just extra additional board down there. And these medium frames, I'm going to put them in like this. So we've got a pollen frame going in. We've got one brood frame, and as you can tell, listen to Bob Benny on YouTube. It's important to rotate out your frames over time. So I did mark it B for brood 21, the current year. I've got a honey frame here with a drawn out comb. I'm gonna put that in next. And I realized that I probably want the brood together, but I'm going to put it right there anyway and have the second frame of honey to the far right. So we will see how this works in a second. Okay, so we got the deep set up with a converter box in it. I'm going to put in my over 50-year-old beekeeping bifocals on so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put on my veil just in case. I mean, these are new bees to me. When I saw them there and inspected the nukes before I purchased them, they seem to be pretty gentle, pretty friendly, but you know, you never know when you start diving into a nuke what's going to happen. So I got my bifocals on, I got my veil on. I'm going to still try to go with no gloves just because I think it's safer for the bees. I generally hurt the bees a whole lot less when I use my bare hands as opposed to using the veil. So they've got this nuke box, kill that ant. They got this nuke box with duct tape on it. I'm just going to cut this one side out and lift the lid up and see what we have. Okay. Still looking fairly friendly. Break these frames open a little bit. Don't want to roll the queen, especially we don't want to roll the queen. Nice big drone up top. We've got a lot of propolis going on. It's there, honey. Go back in there. We have to break this apart just a little more. See if we can find one that will come out nice and easy. Look at all that they've built between those two frames. Let's try this again. We have to go with this one first. Well, good. Your girls are here good in these packages. Alright, now I am going to try to keep them in the same order. So I got a deep frame here. I see some nectar. I see some pollen. We've got some drone comb over there, that's for sure. They're building the drones. And now I'm going to go this back one. See what we have here. We've got a couple areas of capped brood, but I don't know. Nothing major yet. She told me she was having problems getting that queen to lay. There's plenty of pollen there. So we have in this one. Some nectar. I mean, this is a very light frame. I'm not overly impressed with the health of this colony yet. I see 0 eggs whatsoever in this frame, this brood frame. This one's at least looking a little promising. It's a much heavier frame. Got plenty of brood in it. Some drone comb. I see a couple eggs. I have not spotted the queen. Maybe you have, but I've not seen her. And just to make sure things are nice and snug, I'm going to pull this one out so I don't endanger that queen if she is in this last frame. Nectar. There's the queen. She even marked her for me. See her? Nice big old queen. Good looking queen, but I don't see a lot of eggs. I'm not really pleased with the fact that I don't see more eggs than I do. So we'll put her in there. Careful not to hurt her. I'm keeping an eye on her. Okay. I'm going to put those two together. She should be fine. I'm taking this other frame. And this might be a little snug. If that's the case, I'll pull out one of those empty brood frames, but she's definitely not the back side there, so I think we're okay. Okay, so we got all 10 frames in there. I'm going to assume that these girls are foraging, but just to be safe, make sure they're not nurse bees. I'm going to shake them down there. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on so prevent any chance of the queen from flying out. Okay, now I'm going to take this whole thing, this whole box, hive and all, I'm going to set it up exactly where they were before. So the foragers will know where home is. And yes, the box has changed, but same location, same pheromones. Obviously we got a lot of foragers out. So make sure it's all squared up in the back. And hopefully, as that colony grows and expands, they'll come out and they'll go into the 5 medium frames I have here, and I can pull the medium frames out, put them in another box, and either keep the deeps in there or eventually break them down, put them in a whole other colony. We'll see what happens as the year goes by. I do not expect this to be a production colony this year, even though there is a chance I could get some of the late honey. But this year I'm focusing more on my home apiary on working on the bees themselves. So I'm going to leave this box right here. It is now empty. Don't see any bees in it. But in case any of them are predestined to go to this box for whatever reason, I'll set it right on top of the old hive, and hopefully those forager bees will smell their way down to the bottom box. And to make it even easier on them, I will turn it around so they don't even get confused in the entrance hole. But anyway, that's it. That's the medium to deep converter box that we built. For those of us who are over the age of 40, 50, or just want to all go to mediums instead of having these deeps around. So hope you enjoyed it. I will keep you updated throughout the course of the year on the progress and let you know how it works out. Thanks a lot again for watching Clark Family Outdoors. Looking forward to seeing you again soon.